Pistol Whip. You probably got this one. If you haven't, you probably should. But look, it's a great warm-up before you play a game of Synth Riders or something. Actually, no, I found it the other way around. Play Synth Riders before you play a round of Pistol Whip. You do really, really well. Same way that you play Ziggurat before you do an online shooter. Ziggurat it kind of feels like a first-person shooter from the early 90s. It's built with this rogue-type random challenge thing. It just tightens you and gets you ready for playing against good humans online. But yeah, sometimes many paths to the summit. Sometimes you go through another title to be better at the titles that you're actually wanting to play. All right. Okay. So it's my understanding that I'm recording. I'm not hearing any sound. This is why I was going to jump into another game. Oh no, there is sound. It's very, very soft. Okay, so I have set the sound very, very soft. It was measuring 60 dB in some music I was playing, which yesterday when I did that was the right mix for when I was gaming. But to me the sound's too soft. Restart your health bar by getting hits in a row. Anytime you get hit. Oh, hang on. Back to the center. I haven't had that happen previously. Alright, maybe. But yes, you do feel like John Wick in a John Woo film. And a punch, which is a pistol whip, resets your shield bar up, I believe. And if you're playing it seriously, you're fine to the beat, but that's if you're playing it seriously. I kind of can't imagine not playing it seriously. It's too fun. That being said, Legendary Tales, I have clocked up more time in that in the short time it's been out than I have in my entire time the platform and Pistol Whip. Which says a lot. I think this will probably be my most played game. Synth Riders will probably be next. If you put Pistol Whip and Synth Riders together, my playtime on Legendary Tales has already outshone that. So, is it good value for money when I have put more time into it than the two longest playing titles I've got on the platform? I know what I would take if I had to choose but one. And it would be hard to give these ones up, but Legendary Tales is brilliant. If any game's going to teach you to fire from the hip, that'd be Point Blank on PlayStation 1 with a light gun. Namco. Okay. But yes, I'm using the drum guns. They're quite fun. All right. Oh, this game is so much fun. And then you do all that, and then you get all that, and you go over here, and you go over there, and you do that. All right. Oh. So thank you for the long lead in. I'm just going to sort out my audio. I feel I've done something wrong. Try that. Oh, yeah, no, that is on. Ah, they're not connected. How are they not connected? Powering on. I'll do it. All right. Put that back to where it was. Oh, that's music. Okay, so that should be the PlayStation. Ah, I've got music. Okay. Look, I'm going to run around with a could go multi. I've set it to just PlayStation, so it should be global. Going through my phone network, whatever it's going to find. Normally it populates this list pretty quickly. So this is the work hours of the day. It's got a network error. Okay, so it's more likely something I've done stops it from doing what it should be doing. I can come back to that and play with that. Usually if I just jump out and reboot and or reset my network up and do a check, it's fine. But I do find if I'm going to have an issue with the networking, it shows on that screen, and then it's usually fine thereafter. Right, so I'm playing with a character with level 1, literally got nothing, shouldn't have anything, completely empty, new character. Let's go to the mix. So, anyone watching me can see that I've set, a couple of things. I got a fan off to the side. Probably not on. Ah, it is now, good. I've got my aircon on, I believe, which is what I need to do, otherwise I just become a sweat ball and playing actionful games like Pistol Whip. Right, the fan on me now, I feel a lot better. I can also tell where I am on the floor, very helpful. Yeah, so I've set my screen brightness in my visor at about 70%. And it's one of the tricks you're meant to do fairly early in, just to make things easier for you. For some people that are suffering when they're wearing the headwear and they get a bit... and when I first played this game, I had it set to free look. In fact, all the games I've played I've set to free look. This game I've turned the free look off because I want to get my legs. I want the ability to play for 4 hours online with a group if, you know, if it's called for. So, it's not that it's my preference, not that it's what I like, but I just want the ability to play for a long amount of time. But why do I mention the brightness thing? Okay, well, the TV that we're recording this off is a reference calibrated OLED screen, the same sort that Hollywood use for mastering. Must admit, an Apple firmware, an Apple software update for their TV did a firmware update to my TV against my permission, and it wiped out my color profiles, which I retune every 6 months. But I think that's only on the TV input, and that if I use the PlayStation input, it's still using my color. When I review the footage, I find the green's a little bit, what could I say, consumer class green. The reds are a little bit, reds aren't too bad. Usually the greens and the reds are where I judge the quality of the camera that's recording it. In the past, if you'd asked me, I would have absolutely said it was the recording camera that was mucking the colours up. But right now it's hard to say. Could be other things. So let me just quickly check. Put them away, cast a spell, Go back to town, do my healing. Right, so I've lost about half a health bar there. I was coming back to town and heal. Around the fireplace, right? So anyone watching, if you look at the red on the back of your glove, you've got your blue bar, you've got your red bar. It should be going up at about 1 health point every 2 seconds, according to that there. Yep, still at the same rate. Oh, did I go up a level? I've got up a level already. All right, brilliant. So actually, while we're here, there's a really good. One of the traits you can do allows you to. You get an extra 2 points from shields. So critical hit damage plus 10%. I should probably do that. But yeah, the one that gives you an extra 2 armor class from your shield is so good. Like it's just. I reckon it's the one to get, but I don't know where it is. I thought I'd just jump in here and quickly find it. Oh yeah, there we go. Armor plus 2, condition shield equipped. Right, so that's I like it. I shouldn't have taken it. This was going to be a spellcasting build. That was a. I should be respecing my points already. See, at this point, I just reload the game and go, look, I don't want that. No, it's all good. Okay, so I could go back via my portal. One of the things that's nice about the game is how quick you load through your portals when you jump through them. You certainly don't, because the game will load so quick, even if you're in a dungeon back to the home zone. You know, you're never afraid of stepping through something, waiting for the load time. Anyway, I was talking about something prior to that. Oh, the darkness of the screens and the contrast. So the screen that we're recording here by picture, it is an OLED screen, so black values are black. I think the colours are a little bit too vivid, but that might be an Apple firmware thing. I probably do need to do a retune. Oh, that was a good shield. Oh, actually, you'll come for me. Oh, I'm still recording. So I've got my lights on. Well, that's when I trip over my cable. Doesn't happen very often. Actually, had some CDs set up here to just fall on purpose. Just let me know. Dude, go easy, go easy. All right. So with any luck, this is all plugged in. It looks like it is. I'll just turn that on. Oh, it was already on. Okay. Cool. So yeah, I'm recording on an OLED screen. So black value should be black, colours should pop. It should look more or less like it looks in the visor. And what I'm finding, damn it, is that playing on a TV whose contrast range should be equal to what the headset is, trying to spot a dark skeleton in front of a texture colour which might be similar, which is basically the skeleton standing in front of the mountain behind me. When you approach them, in the visor you can see them. You see them easily when they move. And there is a colour change between the skeleton's bone and the rock. It's pretty subtle, but you see it through the visor. But the sense of scale and the field of view not being filled up as much on a small playback screen means that even if the contrast is there and even if the colour pop is there, the ability to discern information like you do when it's your entire field of view, it's just so easy on the visor to see what's going on. It's easy to see what's hiding in the shadows, and anything which the home users might be looking at going, oh, that's a bit dark. It really isn't. The art of the team, it's a tough one. Either that or I'm a weakling. They've built it really well so that you do see things pop out of the dark. You do have that sense of things sneaking up on you and possibly getting there. Alright, so I've got a few bits of armour along the way here. I should probably now equip some of them. Right, is that better? 3 to 5, 3 to 4 technically is better. We got there 2 to 6, 3 to 7. dropped my sword. Anyway, alright. So yeah, just a moment of micromanaging there. If I've got this groovy looking shield, oh, I should just check, is it a strength or a dex-based shield? It is a strength-based. Okay, good. Some shields are dex-based, some are strength-based. Obviously, you use the one which is going to develop the stats you want to build. But yeah, the art that the team has chosen is based very much on that they know they're going to be playing back on an OLED. And, well, I mean, I can't say that for fact, but most games avoid the darker range of the contrast run, the closer to black values area, because the typical gamer would rather have a TV 10 inches larger than a good quality TV that can render colour and contrast right. And then there's people like myself that will buy the smallest TV in the best lineup to get the colour and contrast spot on. And for me, colour and contrast is what really matters, more than size. That's because I use TVs or screens as monitors for reference for photos. Prat, anytime they hit me, they make my shit list. Yeah, you hit me. Okay, yeah, me hitting him quick there. That wasn't personal. Alright, but yeah, the quality of the green, the vividness of the actual in-game colours is very nice. But to play a game on an OLED that is all these drab hues of medieval dirt, it's just fantastic. It's very easy to have an immersive world when the silvers of a sword or the shine of a metal stands out from the dull earthen colours around it. It's fantastic. So yeah, I played around with one of the attack dummies the other day to watch progressively my damage rates go down the faster I got with my weapon, and just to learn a little bit about the game's preference for piercing or you know, blunt weapon damage or whatever. It can't look so huge though, really. Right. Yeah, don't know about that. Don't know if I've had any luck finding them. I feel that later in the game I found a door which I couldn't open. There was somebody on the other side in a state of terror who just wanted to get through the door, and I didn't get to rescue them. But the actual role-playing in this game, I think it's some of the best role-playing I've found in just about any role-playing game. And it's mostly done without the use of words. It's done through clever world building, great in-game assets in the level, and just an inquisitive mind in the player, running around, having a look for, why is that there? What happened here before I got here? You know, like, it has that sense of, if you're a Sherlock Holmes, if you're a bit of a detective and you come in here and you want to look around and try and make sense of what's going on, you can. Look, here we go. So once anything pops into the light, it stands out. There's no doubt about that. But if anybody at home could see the way the light falls through all the surfaces of their rib cage, and when it fills so much of your field of view that it's, they're literally the size of a broad, they're huge in my eyes. But you can see the light illuminating all the inside of their rib cages. It's just so amazing. The pop or the immersiveness of everything in the game is, whoo. Right, and if you see the resolution in the ribs, that's where people say this game's running at 4K HDR, and it's like, man, I play enough games on PC and I render at resolutions at 4K, and I've been super sampling for decades, and I play with high res. I've always owned very high res monitors. When I see at a distance the way the ribs just don't alias, there's no noise. Now you can say that's foveated rendering, but there is a real off-world camera. The budget of the world that's being rendered is rendered very, very high res off screen, and it just comes through. Even when it makes it to the screen, the assets might look somewhat simple. People say that the graphics aren't amazing. I think they're amazing, but I've played Skyrim VR. I've seen how lame open world fantasy games have to be when trying to run at 90 frames a second minimum. yeah, generally, open world anything is the hardest genre to do. You've got to have all your streaming systems strong. You have a good memory, a good CPU, as well as your good video card. And then to do open world to 2 screens at high refresh rate, right? The fact that we've got open world, this is amazing. Once I get through that fence over there, and people can see the next zone of which is sort of like the hub zone, which branches off into multiple different dungeons. I guess as you become a higher level character, you can run a very short distance from town and then choose which is the appropriate dungeon for whatever your adventuring party needs to fight in order to have difficulty. Now that being said, the game does scale up, so if you come in as a high level character, the enemies do get more difficult, and I guess the treasure and the drops improve as well. I mean, it really does feel like every good game of Diablo, or I'm trying to think of Dungeon Siege and a few of the other games in that era that were the... Oh! Now if that had been the original Doom on PC, the second guy coming up behind the first guy, trying to take a swipe at me and hitting his friend in the back of the head, the first guy would have turned around and fought him. Right, now Doom, when it made it to the consoles, all that intelligent AI of the characters, that was kind of lost. That was one of the things that players couldn't necessarily see, but the graphics on the back of the box they could. So we know what the developers focused on with whatever their limited power budget for a console would have been. Give me that. Right, give me that. So, we see sacrifices when games are brought to other platforms and stuff, but this game has been built more or less from the ground up for high end. And nobody's really doing that. Nobody wants to lose 10 times the potential software unit sales to write for the actual top end equipment, right? Yeah, if you write for the haves rather than the have-nots, you sell potentially 10 times more software, straight up, just because more people have the hardware that can run a basic game. And that's why just about every multiplayer online game, or all of the games where they want bulk numbers of people to play it, they're all designed that they'll run on a laptop, right? And a laptop with a basic video card. They have to. They need the player base. But then you get developers like this that come along and they take the giant fiscal risk of supporting just the top % of players, the people who've got the top end hardware. Now the truth is, down the track, this software is still worth bulk amount of money, right? If you look at games like Oblivion and Skyrim, they might be a once a decade type masterpiece that comes out, but people still play them for a long time. And for this type of game, being as rare as it is and being as hardcore as it is, this game will still have legs. 5 years from now, it will still be selling. And if you know that, you know that the hardware, like the Quest 4, will have the same amount of grunt, no doubt, as a VR2. You don't have to make executive decisions to cull features from your game or make it run on easier hardware. You just let the hardware catch up. So if the developers deem that there's enough money selling at full price on a premium console platform, they might continue to support this software, improving it and letting the market's hardware catch up for the continued sales. I'm hoping that's what they do. I'm really hoping they don't deem that there wasn't enough money selling to the hardcore platforms and that they try to retool for really low-end hardware, because I would rather see them continue to develop for this platform. When you see the love Urban Wolf have given the software and continually, and even after release, continue to deliver and develop, if you look what they did through the early access period for the software, if they're anything like the No Man's Sky team and continue over the next year to improve the product, it will be very easy for people to say, wow, this is probably the best purchase I've made on said platform, and that the price of the software is absolutely worthwhile. Now, hang on, I need armors. I might just good, so I'm starting to get some armor class. Sorry, I forgot at the top of the stairs to look around and show people the game world. So there's a giant cave system over there, a lot of goblins in it. And then you get this feeling that you're entering goblin territory with these fortresses prior to getting there, and these little encampments and stuff. Right, so that's quite amazing and quite built world. Over here you got like a dragon's head or something mounted on the top of a cave. You feel like that's more the dwarven caving zone. That's a really nice little cave zone. I've been currently clearing that out. That's the low level dungeon. So by game default that says level 5 characters, that one says level 10 characters. Having walked into that dungeon higher than a level 10 character, it ups the dungeon level to become a level 10 dungeon and improves the difficulty accordingly. So it's got that ability of replayability. You're bringing your friends in, going back to either familiar territory because you just want to hang with your friends and have a no-brainer time and not care about discovering stuff, but still want to have all the fun of swinging and group play. Or you can, break into the newer territory or the higher level areas that you're currently opening up. The riddle of the game and solving its puzzles have allowed you to open a few more doors and get further in, and you'll discover more zones. But to say that, I'm sort of in a hub zone. I've come from town. There's the first little town portal, which will get me back to town, at which point you kind of dropped it in the central of a hub where you can go north, south, east and west, or I guess if I had a map, I'm going to go north, south, east and west. And this is the first portal, very easy to get to. That being said, I'm at half health now, and a little bit less than, and I'm an experienced enough player that, I haven't had the worst time getting down here. I think the first time I got here it took me 2 or 3 runs back to town and healing by the fire before I could clear up to this zone, and then I'd clear the 5 people around that portal and then jump through the portal and heal and then come back. I'm sort of at that right now. I haven't really got enough health to survive this fight. I do, but I could easily start this fight up and die. Right. Gonna say that. It's the hardest crystal I've ever come across. So I believe the blue crystals are better than the white ones. The yellow or the gold crystals being better still. That was a katana with the funkiest looking blade I've ever seen. I've got very little life left. Not planning on losing that katana. Wanted to throw my sword into him, but I didn't. Alright, I didn't do it from point blank. Alright, so anyone at home can see that my health bar is at really, really low. So I'm going to walk to the portal, jump through it. You can see the loading time of getting back to the city. And I will now heal. So I'll bring this up. You can see the healing coming back. It's about 1 every 2 seconds. Alright, so it looks like I've gone up other levels because I've been using strength-based weapons. My strength has been leveling up. I really should spend a point on buying a mana spell. So coming over here, going to traits, magic, my apologies, choosing a school of magic. So far I've had 1 game with a fire caster, 1 with a lightning caster. I might give ice a go in this one. And dot. So I've now got an ice spell. Alright. I prefer the sound of the ice bolt. Yeah, the charge up for the fireball sounds a bit lame. The casting of them's alright. The electricity sounds like it's one of the immersion of the game breaking things. Everything in this world looks like it's real and medieval. And then I hear the sound effects for some of the spells and I'm like, maybe not. But then I hear the ice one and it's absolutely spot on. And yeah, spot on. So look, let's talk tech for a split second. I mean, most people are going to use for their in-game audio just from the little headphone socket right at the back of the headwear and down into some earbuds. And you're basically not going to beat that setup. I mean, it's simple, it's easy to use, it's fantastic. You're going to, as long as you're choosing earbuds that have arguably a flat frequency response, because if you're using head-related transfer fields or the ability to use clever math to figure out your ear pinna and simulate skin at the back of your ear, which dulls the high-frequency sound, therefore the sound you know is coming from behind you with only 2 point sources, your left and right ears. So our brain is quite clever, and scientists figured out the math of what the pinay was doing to the high frequencies of sound decades ago, and so we've had chips in our TVs for decades that have been able to simulate surround sound using only 2 speakers. There's nothing new about this, right? It's something you can do, but head-related transfer fields, HRTFs, which is the math of simulating surround sound for everybody personally, it basically requires the mapping of a person's pinay, or knowing what their ear looks like, so that you know how the respective frequencies of sound change as they roll over the ear surface. And so 25 years ago, when Oriel 3D came to market, you had to choose an HRTF profile. Like, I think they had large, medium, and small. I've got to work off the size of your ear. But they said, look, matching the HRTF profile is absolutely key to having headphone surround sound good. So Sony knew that when they were bringing out Tempest. They actually said that they might build a mini game which you play, and it learns where you're hearing, and it tunes accordingly based on what's fitting. They were also talking about the potential of users having photos of their eyes, of their ears, and then having the computer generate the appropriate HRTF, or choosing from a huge list of ones that they believe is the right profile. And let me just face right. I know over time I stop facing the right way. Right, so when you're using the PSVR 2 and you're using the earbuds here, you are using one of the 3D profiles. Now, what I've noticed with the current firmwares is that it locks off the control of the 3D headphone sound once you turn the headset on. But if before you turn the headset on, you go in and there's 5 profiles to choose, and for each set of headwear you put on, that is, every set of headphones has a slightly different sound profile. And I find that the vast majority of my headphones do sound best in profile number 3, the middle profile, which is the default profile. But then the majority of my headphones lean into number 2, profile number 2, and I've got a small percentage, about 15% of my headphones fall into profile number 4. But you need to, on a per headphone basis, go in and check which one works and set that. Now, if you set that, headphone surround is amazing, like really some of the best you can get. And you don't want to rob yourself of that extra dimension of in-game information. It's an advantage as a player. I take sound very seriously as a gamer. Damn it, gotta hit hard. Okay, they got me. Alright, somehow I survived that. And I should have just been casting spells all through that. I'm now going to run back, run away into my portal. Alright, so getting some flatline headphones is kind of important. Flatline headphones are what allow the math that's being used for the HRTF, head-related transfer field formula to do right. If your headphones have raised treble and reduced bass, when the math of the HRTF is calculating and it's basing on the fact that you haven't got boosted treble and your bass is flatline, it means that the edits that you're now doing to your headphone to make it try to sound 3D, they might be all over the place. Nobody can rely on your headphones because your headphones aren't flatline. So a lot of people refer to high fidelity headphones or flatline headphones as being a bit boring to listen to. People want exaggerated treble. With gaming headphones, say, oh yeah, look, we built a shitty headphone and there's raised treble frequency right around where the footsteps are, so we're going to sell that as a feature rather than dampening the inside of the cavity and doing things to get the sound under control. We'll just it's a marketing point, and nobody wants to pay the Dolby headphone license, it seems. So look, Tempest Audio and a flatline headphone, if you can find one, highly recommended. You're probably not going to find a better headphone surround on the planet. And that's someone that's played with just about every headphone surround or emulating technology out there. and Waves NX and things that track your head and all sorts of stuff. You know, like I really am into my headphone. Have been since the 80s. Had the first PC sound card, and for just about every decade following that, every evolution of the technology that ever came about. But I've loved watching the high-tech audio make it to the consoles. So the original PlayStation had 8 basic echo functions you could put over things, equivalent of environmental audio extensions on a creative sound card, like version 1, just echo effects. It was used to good effect. If you played Porsche Challenge or a typical race game like Ridge Racer and drove through a tunnel, you know, whole echo effect was utilised. You know, like this stuff was pretty norm at the time. But then Sony really upped their game with the PlayStation Vita, because the Vita had essentially a version of what was like Oriole A3D2. It was using the fact that sound waves get tracked through a space, and you track the bouncing of sound waves off surfaces. And when you do that, there's the surface itself can either sharpen the sound or obfuscate the sound, like dampen it. And to play a game that uses it is epic. The first Half-Life supported Oriole 3D2, and that was in the 90s was when I learned the difference of mass-market shitty sound, which was your creative sound cards, and I'd owned all of them, and I'd had the Or32 had like 32 meg of RAM or 64 meg of RAM. There we go. I think I had 64 meg of RAM on the sound card. So games like Battlefield, there wasn't many that used it. But the idea was that you could load all your in-game sounds onto the sound card, and it wouldn't have to utilise your system buses to transfer that data on a per sound basis. But sound cards kind of died a horrible death. There's a reason for it. There's two. One was that when Oriole A3D2 came out and started doing wave tracing, right, you didn't get improved frame rate. You actually lost probably about 2 to 5% of your frame rate, right? There was just so much more math required to do a lot of what it was doing and to be fed to properly, that people all of a sudden, you know, if you bought a 3D accelerator card for your computer, your frame rate went up, right? But if you bought a sound accelerator, potentially your frame rate went down. And so sound cards they just didn't benchmark well, right? The notion of, it sounds better to me, but that's a subjective opinion, not an objective fact, isn't worth anything to anyone. And so when Vista buried all sound cards, the first Xbox had an Enforce chip in it and could mix everything to surround sound, Dolby Digital. And so one of the advantages that the consoles had over PCs was easy mixing to surround sound. So Microsoft needed audio dead on PCs if it wanted to push that consoles were better, and they magically, with Vista, so you need a hardware abstraction layer. It's the thing that stops viruses and hacks on your computer getting access to your hardware. The hardware abstraction layer it's a pretty strong security aspect of any computing hardware. And so when XP came out, getting XP was a combination of the consumer branch of Windows, which was 98, and the business branch of Windows, which was new technology, NT, Windows NT. And so Windows XP was the first time they kind of merged those branches. And so you had some of the security of the stability of the business side of the platform, which had the hardware abstraction layer in full effect. And so just for your video card to bypass the HAL, you know, you needed those new video drivers. It was a thing. Anyway, sound cards were essentially buried from the market with Vista, and there's a lot of arguments for what was going on there, but I mean, cynical people who've watched Microsoft through the decades know exactly what was going on. I mean, this is the company that brought up high definition HD CD was a 20-bit format on a 16-bit platform, but was always going to be able to be used on any future sound format, and was always going to improve the sound you got from it. It was a fantastic tech, and every one of my HD CDs to this day, 20-bit CDs, sound better than just about every future format I've ever bought into. Don't know why that is, but the quality of electronics and the electrical noise in electronics means it's very hard for even the best electronics to resolve more. Oh, that's permanently been raised to level 10. That used to be level 5. I'm a low-level character. That's now level 10. That's interesting. Yeah, so... sound. What was I talking about? Oh, look. Console sound through the years. Yeah, Microsoft buried HDCD for no reason other than to win a format war against Apple AAC. At 64 kilobit compressed sound files. It was technically better, but it cost the entire market. HDCD, it was buried. Once Microsoft brought it up, they just buried that tech. So, you know, Microsoft as a company, they were more than happy to bury hardware sound of sound cards. Everybody moved to USB sound cards around about the mid-2000s, and ever since then we've not had hardware multi-channel audio, arguably. Not really. Not in the way that we had previous to that. Not like we were having at the direction the market was going in. So when I bought into a few cards like the Oriole, the Prelude, there's a few cards that they licensed Creative's X5 technology, and they were going to give access to the Oriole extensions, the A3D extensions. It was the best we were going to have, and the fact that a pro sound card company was making a decent sound card, yet you weren't going to get the dodginess of Sound Blasters or Creative's drivers, and you know, the whole fiasco with Daniel Kaye going, oh yeah, we can't make any of our old sound cards work in Vista onwards, and then Daniel Kaye comes along and writes the software package to make all the old sound cards work. And Creative are looking like they're going to fight him, and it was just all like, what? This is crazy. Like they clearly don't want the old sound cards to work in the new operating system. And once everybody got wind of that, Creative kind of eased off and went, oh, Daniel Kaye, he's a legend. Yeah, thanks Daniel Kaye for making all our old sound cards work still on the new operating system. Nobody really believes they felt that way, but they certainly publicly made out like they were championing Daniel Kaye and the support of old hardware. The reality is though, we lost all the old hardware. We lost all the old methods of doing headphone sound, and I still use an Asus Zona, like an Essence SDX, which has lots of gold on it, and lots of shielding, and you know, I can upgrade the op amps on it. I've got some Burson op amps to a little project there to mod. Great little sound card, and it does Dolby headphone rendering, and it's, you know, you feed that out to a good quality stereo headphone amp, and you've got one of the world's best headphone sound setups. So look, someone who's been playing with this tech for a while and watching Tempest Audio come to market on the PlayStation Vita and realising that consoles for the first time had what PCs kind of had at the late 90s and was the evolution of the technology. I mean, Oriole A3D's tech came from military simulations for helicopters, and the way that once you fly below radar level, you kind of got to hear the sound of the rotors bouncing off the valley walls in a helicopter. You kind of can have that advantage from audio cues as to where the helicopter might be coming at you. Now I don't know how easy it is to hear over the sound of your own helicopter, the sound of these things. You might have to turn your motor off for a second, just free fall out of the sky while you're assessing whether or not you can hear another helicopter. To me that sounds a little bit, but anyway, the Oriole had been commissioned and had built, or based off US military audio technology. A3D existed, but to play it in a game like Half-Life, at the start of the game, right after the shit hits the fan, you're going to walk back through the level that you've walked through up to that point, and it's a workplace, so you've got a kitchen and you've got various things. And as I said, once the shit's hit the fan, you're walking back through the base, and areas that were previously safe are now no longer safe, and you've got this sense of unease in the game. This is Half-Life building up, and it becomes intimidating, becomes quite scary. And my housemates had built identical PCs to myself. We all had gone out and bought the Celeron 300A and a good motherboard, and you can just change a jumper on the motherboard and overclock a 300 megahertz processor to a 450 megahertz processor. Oh shit, that guy there glowing red is an advanced character. So I've come into this dungeon as a level 5 character. The dungeon scaled up to level 10, even though I'm playing single player, and I've now got challenges in areas that I previously did not have challenges in, that look like they are just going to own me. So it might be time to swap over to some magic. Or, yeah, so Oriole A3D, and it's lost from market. It was groovy while we had it, but yeah, when the PlayStation Vita started doing hardware sound, it was the first time we had that come back to market, and that was really groovy. And then the first VR headset kind of doubled or quadrupled, whatever the capabilities were of the Vita. And then whatever that was, if that was 2 times improvement, there's a 4 times improvement to this system's version of the same thing. So it's about 8 times more grunt than what the Vita had. And the Vita, if you play Killzone Mercenary on a Vita, whoa, it is just gaming perfection. And especially with regards to sound. Oh, sorry, what I was describing. Oh shit, what's going on? Something happened around my feet. I think he cast a spell on me which stopped me from moving. Now, I don't imagine he's going to follow me all the way into my safe zone. Oh, no shit. Yeah, I'll take the death, thank you. Oh, wow. Okay, so now that I'm gone, they'll rack off and I can go over there and pick that up. That's crazy. Okay, yeah, so in the first Half-Life, my neighbours on an identical machine, Celeron 380, overclocked 450, and they had a creative sound card, and I had the latest Oriole A3D2, right? We bought an Oriole A3D1 sound card for a mate, thought it was the best thing ever, and I then got an A3D2 as an upgrade. In fact, I think I went from an A3D1 to an A3D2, I can't really remember. Oh wow, this thing is... We get one of them down. Right, so now I'm only going to fight with one. It's okay, I don't mind dying here, buddy. So, 3 health, 7 mana. I didn't expect to survive that, I must admit. Alright, so, grab these, yay, come over here and heal. Okay, yeah, so Big Bad Skeleton Dude was casting slow spells on me, that's crazy. So, Half-Life. Right, so, over here, right. So, when playing Half-Life and walking through the kitchen on my housemate's computer, which had the industry standard creative sound card and environmental audio extensions, and you know, it was considered the best you could get. When you walked into the kitchen, something went "Arrgh," and I'm watching my housemate, this is the same guy that's jumping over the back of a chair being scared of Half-Life, and he was older than me, he was at the finish shooting, I think. But yeah, it was a scary game. Played it late at night. At times I'd hear him jumping backwards over chairs or finding the game scary. I didn't find it scary, but I made the mistake of getting into Aliens vs Predator after it. To say that my housemate's payback was to constantly rip my bedroom door open and go, "Rah!" The amount of times I rolled backwards out of my chair in fright because I'm in the middle of taking down a wave of xenomorphs. But back to Half-Life, right? The first scary game. We'd had Alone in the Dark, we'd had a few things. We'd had Resident Evil on console leading up to here, but the Half-Life was scary, arguably. We didn't have scary prior to that. And rah, in the kitchen, and my housemate's looking around going, "Where is it? Where is it?" And then on mine, right, same kitchen, same spot in the game. First time you're coming up against an enemy threat, and mine just goes, rah, and it makes you look around. And the rah is coming through a doorway. Now, as it turns out, the creature, see where this wall is? The creature's just on the other side of this wall. And so on my mate's sound card, the enemy sounded like it was 3 meters away. You actually heard it through the wall, right? No obfuscating of the sound, like a wall would do. On mine, the wall obfuscated the sound, the wave tracing traced the sound to be bouncing through a doorway, and so I could only hear the 3rd or 4th harmonics, the 2nd and 3rd bounces, arguably, of that on the wall, the sound effects of this creature on a wall, and it sounded far, far away. It sounded like it was like 15 meters away, which, as the crow flies, or as the sound wave travelled, was true. Now, that level of immersion, once you've experienced it, you would never not want that. But I don't think people appreciate good game audio, right? So when the new Final Fantasy game came out, Final Fantasy 16 or whatever it is, there was a demo for it. Oh, you're kidding me, I'm full. we'll have none of that, thank you. I'm just going to quickly clean up my battery. Right, so good talk. If I go equip and I go quick slot. Right, I think I just did something there. No, put that back up. Take that, thank you. Talk. Go equip. Back door. Quick slot. Talk. Oh, I've not got gloves on. I've not got gloves on. Go equip. Put some gloves on. Oh no, I do have gloves on. No, I don't. Alright. That's a big one. Go there. Right, there we go. I've made a few more spots. Put them there. Look, it's messy, especially when just a moment ago I was in town. I could have been selling all this stuff up. Didn't need to do any of that. Yeah, so when the Vita, the Killzone Mercenary, was just amazing. It showed the sense of sounds bouncing through doorways and bouncing off objects and it affecting them. It was pretty incredible. So the more modern example of it, and this is just an example of gamers just not understanding the different headphone technologies and the way that they do their surround sound. I don't want just increased frequency around footstep sound so they sound like they're clear out to hear. I want a more immersive gaming environment. So Final Fantasy 16, when the demo came out, when the character first experiences some goblins off to the left, you actually hear the sound of them being introduced to your senses from the sound of their little ambush bouncing off the rocks right in front of you. And as someone that was, I think I must have been under headphones the first time I was playing it, but if not, I had it in surround sound. So Tempest works even through your surround sound system. And it's tracking audio bouncing off objects. And so when you first see those goblins that are going to ambush you from off to the left, you hear them bouncing off from the wall in the right because the sound waves hit that and it's come straight at you. Whereas I've got no direct line of sight to something that's around the corner. So, yeah, to say it's subtle, right? People don't get good audio because nobody's talking about it, nobody's educated to understand it. And, you know, everyone on the net has an opinion. We've all got equal value in our opinions. And so anytime someone like myself who writes many words for places like Headfi and stereo audio sites, when I make comments about gaming audio, I'm an equal authority as everybody else in there. And the amount of these people that just go like, oh, Tempest is just Sony's way of not paying for a Dolby license and they're just bastards to create another renderer, you know, and even what hi-fi and dedicated audio sites are mirroring these very, very wrong opinions. And there's nothing, my understanding is Forza on the Xbox, they used software, they used CPU calls to try to emulate the same thing in sound. And they would have done it, just Microsoft, knowing what Microsoft's like, they would have done it as a bullet point, just so they can say, we also can do this high level environmental audio, right? Because consumers are white belt consumers, and as long as we can read a bullet point that says it exists, we're happy, right? But the reality is that Sony and the Tempest audio engine are doing it in hardware, and when you start, right? So the Xbox has a massively slower drive, and in the early generations of titles, it nullifies the drive disadvantage by zipping everything so that it has to be decompressed using CPU. And so long as the PlayStation software is also forcing CPU decompression, then it comes down to whichever console has the faster CPU, which is like a 5% or a 10% lead for the Xbox. And so what a lot of games are doing, if they're pro Xbox camp and they don't want the Sony's loading to show up the power of it, they zip. They compress their loading files in a way that are CPU decompression. And so that's one of the many tricks that's been going on. It's a really silly little war where all the software companies in one camp are just making design decisions which are very negatively impacting the competitor's hardware. And even when they do that, the games are working out to be about even, right? But as more and more programmers start to learn the tricks of the Sony console, you know, when we're 5 years into the life of this console, the titles that will be coming out just won't be able to be done on competitors' platforms. That the one advantage the competitor's platform has is not on the hardware, it's not on the GPU level. The GPU and the PlayStation's a better GPU just because of the modifications that were done to the RDNA 2. But the CPU advantage is completely lost when you've got to do things like sound and decompression and, you know, and when you're playing with multi-core CPUs with 16 thereabouts threads, nobody cares about, you know, a 3% or a 5% CPU advantage when CPUs have not really been holding that back gaming on consoles. Well, you know, even low-power consoles like Switch with very low video cards, low-powered video cards use the math of their multi-core processor, and if it can be written for well, you know, a lot of games that required strong GPUs have been able to be realised on a low-level Nintendo Switch. So look, good console gaming is about using the hardware. Consoles, the argument that consoles punch above their weight is true when you look at the actual capabilities of the chips inside them, which might not be that powerful, but when programmers optimise for every last nuance of said chips, the output product ends up being really amazing. So, here's a chance to go up some spells, I suppose. Yeah, so once they start running away from me, I can't hit them. I can only guess, in order to get experience points for the spell that I'm casting, part of it might be the usage of the mana, but part of it might also be it has to hit an enemy, maybe it has to kill an enemy. I could put that to the test actually. I've got other games where I've got mana regenerating stones, and so if I just cast mana non-stop at a wall and see if I level up doing that, that would be the way to figure that out. Now, you might think in the modern world, no game lets you level up if you're not shooting something or actually hitting a target, but games weren't always that way. And I'll give you the example, I should have left myself enough mana for a town portal. I'll just walk through the dungeon. So, yeah, Dungeon Master was a game back in the 80s that you had such finite food when doing a dungeon run that if you actually took the decision of running with a smaller party, not running into the dungeon with 4, but running into the dungeon with only 3 party members, as long as you're willing to eat the meats of the animals you kill, like the mushrooms and some of the steaks off the, you know, Tyrannosaurus Rex looking big enemies, you could survive with 3 characters. The amount of extra sustenance or food that you had allowed you to just sit there and just cast spells at a wall. Because every time you cast spells, you're needing to sustain yourself, and so you need to drink water and you need to eat food. And so when your limitation in the game is how long you can play for before you run out of food, that really worked. But it was a game that, because they'd figured out a balance system, just casting a spell repeatedly, you were going to get better at magic. And so every game has a slightly different system. You've got to trust the developer's design for any given system. They're the ones that know their own product. So yeah, you just got to trust the vision of somebody else. Anyway, that's me having a bit of a rant and rave. I feel like I've done a smallish dungeon run. I am going to save it here now. I find this game addictive and compelling. I just want to play it every moment of the day. That should be, that should be sales point enough, really, for anyone that's considering a game like this. It's a game I've certainly been waiting for decades. It's exceptionally good value for money. Anyone who doesn't understand that proposition, as I say, more hours in this title already than in my 2 most played other titles on this platform. And my want to play those games ongoing, 15 minutes a day, sure, but I want to play this game as many hours a day as I can put into it. Basically until my legs get sore, until my head can no longer sustain hanging out. But look, I must admit, look, I'm going to turn my in-game audio off. So the volume to my ears was very, very loud, so I've got a feeling this will be my loudest, clearest video. The in-game audio might be too soft. In fact, the whole audio mix on this video might be the worst I've ever done. But, so there's a stuff over there. Hang on. Right. Hi. So, I'll take this off now. Right. It's highly addictive game. It really is. Probably one of the best I've found or played. It's certainly what I've been waiting for ever since the promise of this format of gaming came about. In the early 90s, I played Dactyl Challenge on an Amiga 3000, about 15 frames a second, and it was clunky, it was horrible, it was nauseating. You'd get it after your 15-minute block, you'd sit down in public for a little bit, and you'd get your wits about you. It had none of the convenience of the modern world. So we've really come a long way. The notion of running at 90 frames a second, in-game physics is so good that literally I can take a weapon in one hand and just toss it over to the other hand and catch it and keep playing. And I've done that with my shield mid-combat. I've tossed it, a shield from right hand to left hand and grabbed it and drawn out a weapon and gone in. And you can do that. This is a game when you play Skyrim in VR as an example, because it was built from the ground up to be a desktop game, and all of its combat is based on hitting a button for a particular swing. And if you hold down a button or push a direction and do a button, you'll do a different type of swing. So its controls weren't built for proper physics combat. It wasn't rebuilt from the ground up for the platform that it was. This game has been built from the ground up for the platform that it is. It's a bit weird. I guess the game's having a hard time figuring out why is my head down low and so far off to the side from my hands. It's probably getting a bit confused. So look, I'm just going to come back to the desktop now. But that is Legendary Tales. It is highly recommended. I think it's the best game on the platform. I've been wanting a game like this for a long time. It's delivering on the promises that games like Die by the Sword in the late 90s was offering us. It's the sort of thing ever since you first experienced in the mid-90s, and even 3D concepts like the Virtual Boy. It's any gaming in 3D, especially race gaming, because you can see the depth of a corner. There's certain visual imagery that aids in your gameplay. But yeah, when Morrowind came about, and at a time when in an Ultima Underworld and those sorts of things we were playing when playing the first versions of this in public, that you pay your money for 15 minutes or 10 minutes. The idea in my head, planted 2.5 decades ago, was that eventually I'd be able to play a game like this in a world like this, in an interactive method like this, and it's happened. Right, 25 years later, right? So Urban Wolf have developed some software. It's called Legendary Tales. If it is available on a platform that you currently own, no-brainer if you're into these types of games. Have a great day.